This is one of the biggest, baddest construction projects ever undertaken in the United States, but it was abandoned for one reason. The government didn't want a 37-story building casting a gigantic shadow over Washington, D.C. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this house. Today, we are exploring the largest abandoned construction projects in the United States. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode. The Watergate Hotel was supposed to be the crown jewel of DC's hotel scene, a spectacular symbol of American ingenuity and a boon to the city's economy. Instead, it's a crumbling skeleton of concrete and glass, a constant reminder of political corruption and failed dreams. Construction began in 1972 when the Haldeman Construction Company purchased several acres near the White House. They planned to erect a luxury hotel with 640 rooms that would dwarf anything else. In the nation's capital, at 1,388 feet tall, it would have been the second tallest building in the country, behind only the World Trade Center's North Tower. It would have been visible from miles away, a gleaming beacon of modernity and a tribute to the power of American business. Or at least, that was the plan. But the Watergate scandal erupted shortly after groundbreaking and brought the project to a screeching halt. President Nixon resigned in disgrace, and the entire country turned its back on anything associated with the disgraced leader. Investors pulled out, and construction stopped in 1974, leaving behind a gaping hole in the skyline. Several years passed without any progress until plans were made to convert the unfinished tower into a mixed-use development known as the D.C. Tower. But once again, the project stalled due to financing issues. After sitting abandoned for nearly 2 decades, the District of Columbia government stepped in and bought the property in 1992. Their goal was to revitalize the area around the White House, and the Watergate site was the perfect place to start. However, they soon discovered that the structure was in terrible condition. Years of neglect had taken their toll, and extensive repairs were needed before anything could be done with the building. As the years passed, the city poured millions into stabilizing the tower, but no one could agree on what to do with it. Some wanted to turn it into an office building, while others dreamed of a luxury condominium. But all these plans fell through, and the tower remained empty. Finally, in 2013, the government decided enough was enough. They hired a wrecking crew to demolish the eyesore once and for all. But just as they were about to bring the wrecking ball, a last-minute deal saved the tower from destruction. Miami-based CGI Merchant Group purchased the structure for an undisclosed amount and announced plans to finish construction. They would create a boutique hotel unlike any other in the country, with luxurious accommodations, world-class dining, and panoramic views of the nation's capital. The Watergate Hotel would finally open its doors. But not everyone was happy about the new development. Many residents felt that the tower would cast a long shadow over the White House and ruin the view of the iconic building. Others argued that the massive structure would overwhelm the surrounding streets and cause traffic chaos. But the most controversial aspect of the project was its price tag. The developers were seeking $100 million in public funding to help complete construction, money that could be used for schools, parks, and other public projects. In the end, the city council voted in favor of the funding, and construction began in early 2015. The developers promised that the finished product would be worth the cost, and that the hotel would become one of DC's most beloved landmarks. But as we know, they never finished the building. It remains an abandoned construction zone to this day, a sad reminder of all that could have been. This was supposed to be the first true smart city in the United States, a community built from the ground up with the latest technology. But it never opened its gates and now sits abandoned. Known as the City of the Future, Celebration, Florida, was designed to be the ultimate community. It was created in the late 1990s by the Ford family, who wanted to build a city that was more livable than traditional communities. They envisioned Celebration as a place where cars would be unnecessary, where people could get around easily by walking or biking, and where technology would make life more efficient and enjoyable. To make this dream a reality, the Fords hired some of the brightest minds in urban planning and architecture. They created a master plan that included everything from homes and businesses to parks and golf courses. It was a blueprint for a city of the future, or so they thought. Unfortunately, the city wasn't as successful as they had hoped. Despite its many features, Celebration never really took off. There were many reasons for this. For one, the city was located in a remote part of Central Florida, far from major population centers. This made it difficult for people to get to and from Celebration, especially since there was no public transportation. Additionally, the city was very expensive to build and maintain. All of the high-tech infrastructure required a lot of money, and there simply wasn't enough to go around. Finally, people just didn't seem to be interested in living in Celebration. Many saw it as too much of an experiment and were hesitant to move to such an unfamiliar way of life. And today, Celebration is nothing more than an abandoned ghost town. Most of the houses are empty and boarded up, and the streets are deserted. It's a sad end for what was supposed to be the city of the future. This was meant to be the most ambitious theme park ever created, featuring live dinosaurs roaming freely around the park. But something went wrong, and the public never got to see them. Few people know about the abandoned dinosaur park in Utah or the fascinating history behind it. Dinosaur Park was conceived in the early 1990s by a group of paleontologists, engineers, and entrepreneurs. They wanted to create a theme park like no other, one where visitors could experience dinosaurs in a way that had never been done before. Their idea was simple, yet revolutionary. Instead of creating animatronic dinosaurs that were confined to a small space, they would use advanced cloning technology to bring dinosaurs back to life. If their plan worked, visitors would be able to walk among real living dinosaurs, seeing them roam freely in large open areas. And while plans for the park were incredibly ambitious, the creators were confident that they could pull it off. They assembled a team of the best scientists and engineers in the world and began developing the necessary technology. They also secured funding from some of the richest people in America, including Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, and Michael Eisner. But as the years passed, it became clear that they had bitten off more than they could chew. Dinosaur DNA was extremely fragile and difficult to work with, and no matter how hard they tried, the team couldn't seem to put together a complete genome. They also underestimated the amount of time and money it would take to create a full-sized working theme park. By the mid-1990s, the project was running out of steam, and the investors began to lose interest. With no additional funding forthcoming, the project was abandoned in 1995. To this day, no one knows what happened to the dinosaur park or what became of the technology that was developed during its existence. This was supposed to be the most luxurious private airport in the world, but instead, it's just a giant hangar. If you're flying private, you probably know that there's no better way to travel. You can avoid the long lines and crowded terminals of commercial airports and instead relax in your own private suite while your plane is fueled and prepared for takeoff. But did you know that there's an even more exclusive way to fly private, ultra-private? These are airports that are only open to the super wealthy. Airports like the Atlantic Aviation Facility in New York, which has a 75,000 square foot terminal and can accommodate planes up to 70 feet tall. But even those airports are small potatoes compared to what was planned for North Las Vegas. In the early 2000s, a group of investors, led by Robert Mercer, founder of the hedge fund Renaissance Technologies, began buying up land around the North Las Vegas airport, with plans to build the most luxurious private airport in the world. They called it the Executive Airport at Lee, and it was slated to open in 2006. But as we know, things don't always go according to plan. Construction was delayed and then halted entirely when the Great Recession hit. In 2010, the investors sold their interest in the airport to North Las Vegas for $150 million, less than half of what they had invested. And that's when things really started to go downhill. In 2011, the city of North Las Vegas filed for bankruptcy. The airport was abandoned and left to rot. Now it's just a giant hangar with a few planes parked inside. Which one of these abandoned construction projects was your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode. I would also like to take a moment to say a special thank you to our supporters whose names you can see on screen right now. I'll see you next time.